Hello and welcome to this What's New in PowerCLI session. So what we're going to talk about today is first we're going to talk about the new PowerCLI homepage. I'm going to show you a quick demo of what you can find on the new homepage. Then we're going to talk about the new approach to REST APIs that we have introduced recently in PowerCLI. I'm going to show you a little bit about the new NSX module that we have added in PowerCLI. Then we're going to mention about the new vSphere functionality and the new VMware Cloud on AWS functionality. A little bit about myself. My name is Kamen Nikolov, and I'm R&D manager for PowerCLI at VMware and a vExpert. You can follow me on Twitter, where I'm sharing a lot of useful information and all the news about PowerCLI. So first, let's start with the new PowerCLI logo. So here you can see the old logo and the new logo, and it signifies that, and you can see that the new logo signifies the transformation of PowerCLI. The old logo was inspired by the vSphere logo, but now PowerCLI is much more than vSphere. You can use it to automate a lot of different VMware products. And PowerCLI is now de facto the CLI for all the VMware products and all the VMware Cloud products as well. So this is what our new logo shows. Together with the new logo, we have also introduced the new PowerCLI homepage. This is something that we have always wanted to have. And we were able to do that recently. It is the new PowerCLI homepage is developer.vmware.com/PowerCLI, and we have tried to collect all the useful PowerCLI information in one place. So I totally encourage you to visit the new PowerCLI homepage and check out all the useful information that we have put there. Now let me show you a quick demo of what we have on the new PowerCLI homepage. First of all, you can see that we have an installation guide, which guides you on how to install PowerCLI. It has the instructions for the three major operating systems. It has instructions for Linux, for Windows, Linux, and Mac OS. Essentially, the installation process is the same, but in Linux and Mac OS, we have some additional instructions on how to install PowerShell on those operating systems. And here on the installation page, we have also instructions on how to install PowerCLI both online and offline. So you can install it from the PowerShell gallery or from the zip file that we have provided. And we also have instructions on how to update PowerCLI, which is now absolutely easy. Next, we have the commandlet references. Here you can see the information about all the PowerCLI commandlets, and they're separated by products that you can automate with PowerCLI. For example, if we select vSphere, you can see here on the left-hand side all the categories of PowerCLI commandlets for vSphere. And for example, if we go to VM, we can see all the commandlets for virtual machines. And for example, if we select get VM, we can see the documentation for the get VM commandlet. We have the different parameter sets, and for each parameter set, we have a complete list of all the parameters with their description, information if they are mandatory or optional, and also all the examples and the related commandlets. Next way that you can use to to search, if you know a specific commandlet, is the search box. So, for example, we can search for move VM directly, and it's going to show us the documentation of this specific commandlet. We also have a link to the PowerCLI users guide on the homepage. This is a very useful document for those of you that haven't tried it before. I totally encourage you to check out this document. It is a very good document which starts from the very beginning, from installing, configuring PowerCLI, and it also has a lot of use case driven examples. For example, if you open managing vSphere, you can find different use cases, and if you click on a specific use case, you can see a sample script or a sample list of commandlets on how to do the specific use case with PowerCLI. So this is a very useful document, and here we have a list with other products, so you can see how you can manage vCloud Director, Operations Manager, VMware Cloud on AWS, and so on with PowerCLI. Next on the homepage, we have the release notes of the latest PowerCLI version. Here you can see what we have added in the last version, and we also have the changelog, which is similar to the release notes, but here you can see the changes of all the PowerCLI versions in one document. So here you can scroll down and see what we have added in all the PowerCLI versions that are available in the changelog. The next link we have here is the PowerCLI community, which is something that I totally encourage you to use if you haven't already. It is a very active community where our users help each other, where this is the place where you can find a lot of useful scripts, a lot of useful information for PowerCLI. You can ask your specific questions, and someone might be able to help you with a script or with a specific commandlet that you may need to complete your use case. And next link that we have on the PowerCLI homepage is the link to our feature requests. This is the place where you can file feature requests for PowerCLI, and you can also upvote existing feature requests. So I definitely encourage you, if you need a certain feature, add that to the PowerCLI feature request page. We triage those every now and then, and we add some of these to the PowerCLI releases. I'll show you a little bit later in today's presentation. Next, we have the PowerCLI example scripts. GitHub repo. This is where you can find a lot of useful PowerCLI scripts and a lot of community-driven modules. We're going to talk later in the presentation for one of those modules, but there are lots in there. And last but not least, we have a link to the PowerCLI blog, where you can find a lot of useful information for the latest PowerCLI versions, for the latest PowerCLI features that we have introduced, and so on. So I definitely also encourage you to follow the PowerCLI blog. Here we also publish information for webinars and other events that we make related to PowerCLI. Next thing that I want to show you today is the new vSphere automation API SDK modules. This is a totally new way to invoke the vSphere automation APIs. So a little bit of history about all the different vSphere APIs. First, we have the vSphere Web Services API, which are the old SOAP APIs for vSphere. These APIs you can access through the get view commandlet, and it returns you the API objects that you can browse through, and you can invoke different methods on and so on. Then we introduce the vSphere Automation API, and this API has two flavors. It can be invoked through either JSON RPC or REST. So the first way that we added in PowerCLI was to invoke it through the JSON RPC protocol, and this is get CIS service. However, this method is not so user friendly and not so easy to use by the customers, and that is why we added a new way of invoking the same vSphere Automation API through the REST interface. And the commandlets for this one look a little bit different. They are with invoke dash the name of the operation that we want to invoke. And here is the concept. For every API operation, we have a separate commandlet, which makes it much easier to invoke the API operations. So we have the invoke / the name of the operation. For example, for the create VM operation, we have invoke create VM commandlet. And for some of those operations, you just have to pass some simple parameters. But for some of them, they accept a more complex input. And for these complex objects that you have to build as an input, we also have we have created the initialize dash the name of the data structure commandlet. And using those initialize commandlets, you can build the input of the invoke commandlets. One very important thing to note here is that the initialize commandlets actually do not perform any operation. They do not create any object on the server. They only create the client-side objects that you use to actually pass as an input of the invoke commandlets, which actually perform the server-side operation. And we have also added PowerCLI integration with the API documentation on developer.vmware.com. So if you open the API documentation for the vSphere Automation API, for every operation that you have there, you can scroll down and you can see the PowerCLI client SDK example. So here you can see what the invoke commandlet for this API operation is, what initialize commandlets you have to use to build the input, and so on. So it is very, very useful. Now let me show you a quick example of how you can use these new PowerCLI SDK modules for the vSphere Automation API. So in this demo, we're going to use the new commandlets to actually create a local account on the vCenter Server Appliance. So first of all, what we need to figure out is which API operation we want to invoke. And to do that, we're going to search for vSphere list local accounts REST, and this is going to show us the the vSphere appliance REST API documentation, and will show us the specific API operation, which is list local accounts. Here we can find all the information about this operation. We can see the API method, the HTTP method, which is get, the URL of the operation. We can see the header parameters that we have to pass, the authentication, and this is something that we don't need to take care of because PowerCLI takes care of that after we connect to the server. And if we scroll down, we can see the PowerCLI client SDK example, and we can see that the corresponding PowerCLI commandlet for this operation is invoke list local accounts. So now we know the API operation, we know the corresponding PowerCLI commandlet that we have to execute, which is invoke list local accounts. So we're ready to start. Let's switch to Visual Studio Code. And first of all, we have to connect to our vSphere server. Um, we're going to enter the username and the password. And the next thing that we'll do is that we'll actually call the PowerCLI command that we saw in the API documentation, which is invoke list local accounts. So this commandlet is going to show us what local accounts are currently available on the vCenter Server Appliance, and we can see that we have two commandlets, two users, which are root and SSO user. And now we want to create a new account. So to create a new account, we have to find again the API operation and the corresponding PowerCLI command. So let's switch back to the API documentation. And here on the right-hand side, we can see all the related operations to the list local accounts operation. So here we can see that we have an operation that creates new local accounts. We have one that updates local accounts. We have one that deletes them. Excuse me, and so on. So let's go and select the create local accounts operation. And here you can see that uh, again we have all the information for this operation, but we're going to scroll down directly to the PowerCLI client SDK example. And here we can see that the invoke operation that we have to execute in this case is invoke create local accounts. So this is the invoke operation. However, in this case, this operation accepts a complex object. So we also need to initialize commandlets to build this complex object that we need to pass as an input of the server operation. So now let's switch back to our code, and here we have the two initialize operations that that will initialize the input for our create operation, and then we're going to call the invoke create local accounts with the input that we have specified, which is the password, the role, and the username. Now, if we check, we'll see that we now have this additional test operator user created, and we can use the invoke get username local accounts, which is an operation, an API operation that retrieves all the details for a specific user, not just lists all the users. And here we can see that the roles for our user are operator, and we can see that its password will expire in 90 days, and we can see the exact expiration date for this user. So what we want to do now is we want to edit this user. We want to change its password, setting a new password, and we want to specify that the new password will not expire. So to do that, we have to call the invoke update username local accounts operation, and we have to build the input first with the new password and specifying that the new password will not expire. So now that we have invoked the server operation, we can check the information for our user again, and now you can see that the password will not expire, and that the fields that were telling us the exact date when the password will expire are no longer there. So um, the last operation that we'll do is we're going to delete the username. As you can see, we're asked for confirmation, and if we try to get the user again, we're going to get an error that this user does not exist anymore because it has been deleted. Uh, in the same way as we have done for vSphere, we have created such SDK module for the NSX policy REST API as well. This module has more than 4,000 commandlets, which are covering all the API operations and data structures in the NSX policy REST API. It is a single module that works with both on-prem and VMC. So you can manage the NSX instances in both your data center and in the cloud. And we also have the PowerCLI samples again integrated in the NSX VMC policy API documentation. We still don't have them in the on-prem documentation, but we have another method to find the corresponding PowerCLI operation for the API operation using the getNSX operation commandlet. Um, you can find more information for this module on a very good blog post on the NSX blog, and you can also find more information for it in the Explore the new PowerCLI for NSX session on VMware Explore, and also another very good session for the new SDK modules is the PowerCLI and REST APIs A New Beginning. I definitely recommend you to visit those two sessions to get into more details um, about this new SDK modules that allow you to easily invoke the API operations through PowerCLI. Okay, now let's continue with the new vSphere functionality that we have added in the recent PowerCLI versions. First of all, we have added certificate management commandlets. So now you can use PowerCLI to check the trusted certificate store of your vCenters and ESXi servers, to add certificates to the trusted store, to also create certificate signing requests and change the certificate of the vCenter and the ESXi servers. You can see more information in this blog post that I have listed here. It tells you a little bit about the specifics with some of those operations. Also, we have made some improvements in the vSAN data store interaction. As some of you may know, if you have vSAN data stores in your environment, when you were checking the folders on the vSAN data store, there through PowerCLI, you don't actually see the friendly names of the folders, but you see some GUIDs of those folders, and it was quite difficult to figure out which folder was the right one that you were searching for. That's why we added a friendly name property to the vSAN data store folder object. So now you can do get child item pipe select name and friendly name, and you can see the friendly name that corresponds to the GUID name of the folder. We also have changed the copy data store item so that you can now download and upload VMDK files to and from vSAN data stores. There were some specifics there, and it wasn't working in the old versions. We also have a vSAN health check threshold added to the get and set vSAN cluster configuration so that you can now set and check those thresholds that are configured to the vSAN cluster. We have added some of the feature requests that were requested by our customers from the PowerCLI feature request site. This is the one that I showed you when I showed you the PowerCLI homepage. For example, we have extended the get and set VM host network adapter with new services so that now you can enable or disable provisioning vSphere application NFC, and vSphere backup NFC on the VM kernel ports. Another change that we have done is that we changed the new VM and set VM commandlets to enable CPU and memory hot-at. And one also much requested feature was to add Linux support for the VUM module. And I'm happy to announce that since PowerCLI 12.7, the VUM module has been ported to work on PowerShell 7 and now supports Windows, Linux, and Mac OS. The last two modules that are still not ported are Image Builder and Auto Deploy, but we hope to have them ported soon as well. One very useful new community-driven module has appeared. It is called VMware vSphere SSO admin. You can find it on GitHub and also in the PowerShell gallery. It is not part of the official PowerCLI product, but it is something very useful and something that a lot of our customers have been asking for a long time. And it includes commandlets for user management, group management, policy management, and SSO identity source management. Very useful for those of you that are searching for ways to automate the SSO management through PowerShell. We have also added commandlets for VCSA management. You can now check. You can now do service management with PowerCLI. You can check what services are working on the VCSA. You can start, stop, and restart them. And we have also added appliance backup commandlets, which allow you to back up your vCenter server appliance with PowerCLI. And we have also extended the new VM commandlet to support cross vCenter cloning. The new tag assignment has been extended to allow tagging content libraries and content library items. And new and set VM commandlets have been extended to allow enabling encrypted migration of the VMs. Next, let me show you some of the new features that we have added for VMware Cloud on AWS. First, we have added support for VMware Cloud on AWS outposts. We have added commandlet which is get VMC outpost, which allows you to retrieve all the outposts available in the organization. And we have extended the new VMC SDDC commandlet with an outpost parameter to allow you creating SDDC on an outpost. Other improvements on VMware Cloud and AWS commandlets are that the set VMC SDDC commandlet now allows SDDC upsizing, and also the get VMC SDDC group commandlet has been added to retrieve the SDDC groups. The SDDC groups in your organization. And finally, some useful tips and tricks with the new PowerCLI versions. First, we we really advise you to use the PowerShell module autoloading and not use import module VMware PowerCLI anymore, because with all the new modules that we have added, using VMware import module VMware PowerCLI, which imports all of them, introduces some performance penalty, and it is really not needed because PowerShell is very good with module auto loading, and it will automatically load the modules that you need in on the first use. Also, the VMware signing certificate has changed, and that causes some issues when you update PowerCLI using update module command. Um, we have discussed this with Microsoft, and they're planning to fix this issue with in the new PowerShell get module. But until then, we advise you to just remove the old PowerCLI version and then do a clean install using install module VMware PowerCLI. If you get an error for the signing certificate of the modules. It is that the new signing request, the new signing certificate, and the old signing certificate are both valid, but the problem is that we have changed the signing certificate provider, and that causes the issue with the PowerShell get module. Also, we continue to advise you to always use the latest version. This way you'll get the latest fixes, the latest performance improvements, the latest security updates, and even the latest PowerCLI 12.7 is still backwards compatible all the way to vSphere 6.5. So there is no reason not to use the latest version of PowerCLI. Thank you.